Hello. I would like to discuss a little more some details of harmonic analysis. So I have here some excerpts of some Bach chorales, and it was an assignment to my students, and I'm very grateful to the student who allowed me to show you the solution. And the solutions here are very good, but there are some small things in here that could be done better. So, as we say in the devil, no, in the detail is the devil, or something like that. Anyways, one of the details is that for Roman numeral analysis, we should always indicate the key. So if this piece is in A minor, we write a lowercase a colon. Okay. So now my students are taking this online right now and are filling this in with Acrobat. So I allowed them to write D for diminished. So that is fine. Now, here is an interesting chord. It's interesting if you look, well, the progression could possibly work. But in fact, if we look at the chord that falls right on the beat, we have here E, G sharp, it's held over here up to the next bar line, right? E, G sharp, B, D, which is 5-7, an inverted 5-7 chord. The student wrote 2-6. So in 2-6 would be B, D, F in A minor or F sharp in A major. By the way, as we can see here in these Bach chorales, the key signature does not always accurately reflect the key in which we are in, because musically we are clearly in the key of A here, in A minor, and so the key signature does not reflect that. Anyways, there is no F or F sharp here on this chord. So, and in fact, we have to consider the harmonic rhythm. The harmonic rhythm is the rhythm in which the harmonies change, and usually in these chorales it goes by quarter notes, although sometimes it can break that rhythm and go faster um, or slower. In any case, if we would consider the harmonic rhythm of quarter note, we should especially consider the notes falling on the beat. But it's not always the case, but at least it makes a lot of sense to call this an E7 chord. So that would be in second inversion, so 5-4-3. So then we would have 1-6 going to 5-4-3, going to 5-6-5. In fact, there's another detail. It's very important. We'll see this in a few other examples. Whenever there is a note that could be interpreted as a non-chord tone or a chord tone, we have to consider what kind of chord tone. If it could be considered the seventh of a 5-7 chord, we should always interpret it like that and not as a non-chord tone. So in this case, 5 in root position as a triad would have been wrong too, would have been 5-6, but it's really 5-6-5. So it's better analyzed here as 1-6 to 5-4-3 to 5-6-5 to 1, and then half cadence on 5. Now here, this is marked as a secondary dominant, but it's actually not. So what do we have here? We have G sharp, B, D, F. So G sharp, B, D, F. In our head or on extra staff paper, we'll always try to bring the chords in root position, in closed position, so that they're stuck up in thirds, so we know exactly what the root is and the chord quality. And the root of this chord is G sharp, B, D, F. It's a fully diminished seventh chord. Fully diminished seventh chords usually function as leading tone chords, and in fact it goes to A, so G sharp to A. So this is 7 diminished 6-5, since the third of the chord is in the bass. 7 diminished 6-5, going to 1-6, going to 5, going to 6. the student maybe forgot to indicate a chord right here. Let's see what it would be. We have B, D, F, B, D, F, that is a diminished triad on the second scale degree. So this is 2 diminished 6. So 6, 2 diminished 6, going to 5, going to 1. All right. Next excerpt. Again, the key, this case, this excerpt is actually in G. The key signature doesn't indicate that, but we see it by the 5-1 resolution. So we always look for dominant tonic resolutions or even leading tone chord tonic resolutions. So in this case, we have 5 going to 1, 7 diminished 6 going to 1, 6, 1, and here is a 5 chord in the key of G would be D, F sharp, A, but the F sharp is in the bass, that means it's first inversion, and we have a C here on the second eighth and the soprano, which could be interpreted as the 7th of the 5-7, and so we should interpret it like that. So it's a 5-7 in first inversion, meaning 5-6-5, right? Let's look at another example. Here we have a piece in A major, and the key signature matches, but we need to write capital A colon. And let's look at this chord, especially when we have in one of the voices 2 notes, either one of which could be interpreted as a non-chord tone. So if G sharp is the non-chord tone, then we have B, D, F sharp, which indeed is 2. However, 5 usually doesn't go to 2, and if we listen to this, we will hear that this chord really has a resolution towards, or provides a resolution toward this chord. And that is because there is the G sharp here, which is the leading tone. So this is better interpreted as a chord tone, and the F sharp as an accented neighbor tone. And then the chord is G sharp, B, D. So that would be 7 diminished 6. So then we have 5 to 7 diminished 6 to 1. Anyways, I think that would be a better analysis. Let's look further down here. So we see always a chord on each quarter. But on this quarter, on the third beat in this third full measure, there actually, the student indicated 2 harmonies. Now, occasionally that can be the case, but 2 doesn't usually go to 1. So it's a bit odd, and we may not hear it as such. Now, if the student really heard it as such, then there's nothing wrong with analyzing it like that. I don't hear it like that. I hear these the second eighth as non-chord tones, and so I would just analyze here 6 going to 2, 6 going to 2 in root position, going to 5, 6, 5, and so on. So I would simply not mark these the second eighths of that third beat as a chord. I would mark them as non-chord tones. Oh, I think I forgot one little detail that I wanted to point out. Here is one chord, a 4 chord, a D chord, D, F sharp, A, where the inversion is not properly marked. So this is first inversion, so it must be 4, 6. All right, another Bach excerpt. Again, the key is missing. This seems to be in C major, so uppercase C colon, and Here the student indicated K. I'm not sure why. Maybe she learned something like that at cadence point, but this is clearly a one chord, and it is a cadence point, so it's absolutely right. I would label it 1 here, so we have a 5-1. And here we have a tone that is better analyzed as a chord tone because we have 5, which is G, B, D, and then F would be the 7th of the 5-7. So this chord is better analyzed as 5-7 because the 7th is a very strong tendency tone that always resolves down, and especially in a 5-7 we hear it very, very strongly resolving, and so we should analyze that then as a chord tone. Okay, another excerpt. This time it's in D major, so uppercase D colon. We need to write. Let's say here it looks like something doesn't look right. Why? Because in a major key, a 2 chord would be minor. So let's look at what the pitches are. D, F sharp, A, that's a 1 chord, and probably this is just a typo. So instead of writing 1 uppercase I, meaning Roman 1, it's probably a typo of 2. So it should be a 1-6, 1 in first inversion. This is all right. Let's look at this particular chord. So again, we are in D major. Right, a 2 chord would be an E chord, E, G, E, G, B, D. That is 2-7. Right. So the student wrote that it's a first inversion chord because on the beat it's actually the third, that's the lowest note. But for purposes of Roman numeral analysis, we usually consider the entire duration of that harmony. And so if our harmonic rhythm is a quarter note, we do need to consider what comes on that second half of that quarter note. That means that second eighth note. And if it goes to root position, then we simply can write 2-7 in root position. I marked one more thing here on my paper that I want to point out. Here also we have a 5 chord, A, C sharp, E, and a G coming a little later, and that G could be interpreted as the 7th of the 5-7, so we should rather write 5-7 right here. Okay, almost done. Just a couple more examples here. A piece in A minor, so lowercase a colon we need. Then here it is marked as 5. We have E, G sharp, B, and the D comes a little later. It would be the 7th, is the 7th of the 5-7. So just 5-7, no passing tone. This in this case is not a passing tone, it's a chord tone. It's better analyzed as a chord tone because it has a very important function. It has a leaning function, the 4th scale degree, going down to the 3rd scale degree. Anyways, here this is marked as 2-6-5. One thing that is that we know, of course, is that a 2-7 would be a half diminished 7th chord in a minor key, and maybe the student just didn't know how to type it because she typed in the answers with the keyboard, so it might just be a typo here, but it's best to write 2 HD, or if we can actually handwrite it, or if we have a music font, then we use the half diminished sign, the little circle with the line through. Okay. Here is another 5 chord, E, G sharp, B, but the D, the 7th of the chord, comes in the bass, so which overall makes this a 5-4-2 and no passing tone, just 5-4-2 here. So this looks right, then it goes to 1, and let's look at this. here we need to see which notes we can interpret as a chord tone. Anyways, we have B, D, F, and A would be the seventh of that chord. So it is a 2 chord by the 2/7 in second inversion. So and B, D, F, A is a half diminished seventh chord. So the answer, or the better answer, would be 2 half diminished 4/3 in this case. Why is it the better answer? Well, because a 2 in as a diminished triad is usually not used, or not very often. It's usually used in first inversion, because diminished triads in second inversion sound very dissonant at that time period, and composers avoided it. But as a seventh chord, any inversion could be used, and that would be a half diminished seventh chord. So 2 half diminished 4/3. Next example is in G major. And here we have a 5 chord D, F sharp, A, C. Now in this case, the C comes at the last 16th of that beat, the 4th 16th of that beat, but it's still the 7th of that 5/7 chord. It's better analyzed that way because it provides a very strong resolution to this one chord at this cadence point with the fermata. Also, let's look at this, what is labeled here as 2. 2 usually doesn't go to 1, so that gives me a red flag. And of course, a 2 chord would be an A chord, A, C, E, but there is no E. There's a G instead, and then there's an F sharp. In this case, the F sharp is best to analyze as a chord tone, because then it would be F sharp, A, and C, which would be 7 diminished 6. That would be a dominant functioning chord resolving to 1/6. The G major triad in first inversion. And one last example, also in G major. Here we have a 5 chord, D, F sharp, A, and C is the 7th of the 5/7, so this is better analyzed as 5/7. Now here we see something relatively odd, 5 going to 2, and these notes analyzed as passing. Now, so that's technically correct. The question is how it really functions. When I listen to this, so it's always best to listen to it and to stop the music at any time, and to ask ourselves, and how do we hear it? Do we hear this as a dominant functioning chord? Do we hear a resolution here? And of course, we right here on the 2nd 8th of the 4th beat, we hear a resolution from 5/6 to 1. So I think that 2nd 8th is better analyzed as a 1, even though it breaks the harmonic rhythm of quarter notes. So here you have 2 Roman numerals for 1 beat, a 5/6 going to a 1, but I think it better reflects how the music functions, at least how I hear it. And then 1 can go to 2, 2 can go to 5, 5 can resolve to 1, right? But the 5 here also, a D chord, D, F sharp, A is omitted, but there's a C, it's clearly a 5/7 chord. So anyways, we have to consider these details, and always ask, how does it function, how does it sound, and we need to weigh, if we have 2 options, we need to weigh both and maybe make a decision, listen again and make a decision on which solution is more musical. Our analysis should really reflect on how we hear it and how we understand music. So anyways, I hope this helped a little bit the problems of the tiny details in an otherwise very good analysis. So have a wonderful day and enjoy analyzing more music.